Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 69 of the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast. This episode is brought to you by Wendigo Tea. So lately, I've been drinking a lot of green tea. I read online that it's really good for brain function. It's good for burning fat. It's got a bunch of antioxidants in it. So I've been wanting to replace, regular soda and coffee with green tea. My buddy Sky White over at Wendigo Tea sent me over some of his, and I got to tell you, it's some of the best I've ever had in my life. He goes out and finds the best ingredients in the world. These leaves are all organic, super flavorful, super intense. It's, they describe it on their website as if licking one of the green parts, if you could hold the planet Earth in your hand. Well, I agree. It's just a unique experience. I highly, highly recommend it. And all the health benefits are just even more of a reason to give this a chance. Go to their website, wendigotea.com. That's wendigotea.com. Go to the website and check out their selection of teas. They've got the Bigfoot Black Tea, the Siren Throat Health Herbal Tea, which I was talking to you guys about last week. They've got Earl Grey, they've got Chai, they've got Jasmine, they've got Oolong, some of the best tea in the world. And if you go right now, you can get 15% off of anything you order by using the promo code RRBG for Rock and Roll Beer Guy. So that's promo code RRBG. Punch it in at the checkout and get yourself 15% off. This episode is also brought to you by Fuzz Roche's Pedals. Go to the website fuzzrochespedals.com and check out their selection of bass and guitar pedals. It's fantastic stuff, really top of the line. They have some of the best musicians in the world using their pedals, so it must be for a reason, right? Go there right now, check out their stuff, custom orders, custom hand-painted pedal boxes. If you order something, let them know that the podcast sent you. In this episode, I talked to Yvette Young. Her band Covet just released a new LP. Yvette was nice enough to invite me to catch their set over at Santa Ana at the Observatory, and it was fantastic. She is regarded as a Renaissance woman. She does art. She did the painting for the cover of the album. She plays guitar in the band, and it's got some of the most incredible finger tapping technique that I've ever seen. Really beautiful stuff. She's also a teacher. Really inspirational stuff. We talk about her career. We talk about what inspires her. We talk about her art, and we talk about music. I had a really good time talking to her, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I want to give a quick shout out to Barrier Brewing Company for sending me that Hop Damn IPA collaboration with Every Time I Die. It was super tasty. Thanks again, guys. Cheers. Welcome, everyone, to the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast. I'm here with Yvette Young of the band Covet. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. I was put onto your music by my friend Monica. She's been really helpful showing me new bands that I haven't heard of. And I was pleasantly surprised with what I heard from you guys.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
So tell me, how did it all get started for you? When did you start doing music?
I actually have been playing music since I was really young, like probably 4 years old when I picked up piano.
Oh my God.
And I was started out as a classical musician, played piano since I was 4, then I took up violin when I was 7, and I played for 2 orchestras. And I was definitely on the road to being like a concert pianist, that sort of deal.
Okay.
I guess after the orchestra stuff, around high school, I started kind of teaching myself guitar, and then I didn't start actually playing until I was in college. But I started practicing guitar as a way to self-medicate and stuff. It was therapeutic for me because I think being in the classical music world gave me a lot of pressure, and also at the time I was really sick. So for me, I had to drop a lot of the classical piano and violin, but guitar was music on my own terms. So there was a lot less pressure associated with it. And I guess I started out writing songs in my bedroom, and I taught myself just by listening to music and kind of figuring out by ear. And at the time, I really liked bands like Toe and American Football, so I kind of learned that they use alternate tuning, so I started playing around with that and writing my own music. And then I guess I met my current band, and the rest is history.
Wow, I mean that's crazy. So it's pretty much all self-taught. You didn't really you teach, go take guitar lessons from anyone specifically. You just sat there and just figured it out from, I guess, from your background of working with, piano, which is fundamentally the same thing. When you learn to play the keyboard or the piano, you can figure out the bass and the guitar pretty easy, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like a language. Once you learn one, there's like, it's like you can easily like cognates and stuff in language. So picking up a new language that is related to the older language is a bit easier because there's already words that sound similar. So just like verbal language, music is like another form of language. And I think like once you get fluent at one, you can learn another, pick it up easier because you're already familiar with like certain concepts and your ears are more attuned to pitch. Ear training is like everything. I'm so glad that I had ear training with my classical upbringing, because if I didn't have that, I don't think I would have been able to teach myself anything by ear, and also I wouldn't write what I currently write. Yeah, I just find it reference, even music, like when I close my eyes and I think of where to put my fingers when I hear a song, I still think of that piano.
Yeah, because it's the basis, it's the foundation for you.
Yeah.
So when you say ear training, though, did you go somewhere to get ear training, or are you just talking about listening to music and paying attention and teaching yourself that as well?
So I went through this Certificate of Merit Theory training program when I was younger. It's like mandatory classical pianist, and I guess a large part of it was every year they would test me on my ear. So a lot of it was just studying, learning the names of it. A lot of it is like the nitty-gritty technical stuff that you don't really ever use, like naming intervals and stuff. But then I think another thing that helped was just playing so much music, like so much classical music. I think that the more you expose yourself and listen to different things, the more you actually expand your like sonic vocabulary for your own work. It's kind of like developing taste, right? Like if taste is defined by exposing yourself to multiple things and thinking critically about them and choosing your preferences, like I think for me, listening to so much music, it's exposed me to a lot, helped me develop my taste, and then like translate that to my own writing. Just because like I hear, I listen to rock music, I listen to classical music, I listen to hip hop, listen to opera. All of that stuff ends up shaping your future creations, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've never thought of it that way, but it makes perfect sense how you can treat it like your palate on when you're tasting foods. Because when I was younger, there was a lot of food I never would have imagined I would be enjoying later. Like I remember when I was a young kid, I hated onions, and eventually now I put onions on everything. So yeah, it's the same thing.
I still hate onions unless they're caramel. I like caramelized onions and onion rings. Ring form onions are all right.
That's cool. Yeah, it's super intriguing to me, the classical world. I also grew up in high school listening to a lot of classical music. Like I was that nerd there. Where, like all my friends are like, "Oh, check out this new band." I'm like, "Yeah, that band's cool, but have you heard this symphony? Like, this is nuts over here."
That's sick. A lot of people don't realize like classical music is so complex and intricate, and there's like it's quite brilliant. Like I didn't appreciate it when I was growing up. I think it's because it was shoved down my throat.
Oh yeah.
Kind of turned into rock and roll as like a little bit of rebellion. But now that the pressure's off, and now that nobody's telling me to do anything, I go back to classical music. I'm like, holy shit, this composition is like insane, and there's so many voices going on. Like the polyphony is brilliant. And then dynamically, like I think I find a lot of romantic era music really inspiring because it's just so dynamic and nice. And it makes you feel something. So
yeah. And I mean, and you look at the realm of music now, and there's certain bands like you listen to like Animals as Leaders, or some of the death metal bands or something like that. Between the Buried and Me, stuff like that. is if you break it down, you get rid of the distortion, you get rid of all the effects and everything. It's basically classical music writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's just different. You're hearing different modes, and but I guess the overall structure is pretty much the same.
Yeah, yeah, and then they add obviously different elements to it, breakdowns and whatnot. That depends on what type of music you're making, but that's really cool. I mean, like I said, I've always been a fan. I actually got engaged at a symphony to my fiance. It was a
Oh,
yeah, Nobu Uematsu composition. Well, it's the Final Fantasy series. He does all the music for it, and they were doing a concert series for it, and that's where we ended up doing it.
wow, Nobu. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I know you're talking about. I love his work. He's so amazing. I also really like the composer Olaf Arnold. I think he's like my modern day hero. Um,
Nice.
really look up to his work. Like he kind of has that same background as me. Like I watched an interview with him once where he was talking about his classical upbringing and his appreciation for like rock. And he's like, I want to just make classical music cool. I want people to like realize that it's not just boring. Like you can have it incorporate rock elements. Um, yeah, I found that really inspiring.
That's awesome. Are your parents musicians as well? Like, why? I'm wondering why they started you so young. That is it something that was in them as well?
So they both. My dad studied music at San Francisco Conservatory. He studied composing and conducting. He still does that, but he also supplements his income with. He used to do it with piano tuning, and then he works at a piano store as a piano distributor. Um,
Okay.
my mom used to play music. She was my dad's accordion student. My dad's actually like a pretty popular accordion player in China. So they both, I guess, used to play accordion, and that's how they met. And yeah, I guess the odd thing is we don't really talk about music much, but they gave me the foundation.
Hmm.
So I think the foundation is important. Just starting me young when I was 4 years old, just starting me on piano exposed me that early. It helped me develop the language really early.
Well, that's great. I mean, and you mentioned he's famous in China. So is that where you're from? Is that where your family's from?
Yeah, yeah. My parents were born in China, in Beijing. I was born here. ABC, what up? Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, definitely some cultural shock, but it's been really cool getting to show my parents like that. You know, I'm not a doctor, but I'm doing okay.
Well, I mean, they have to understand. I mean, they were musicians. They are musicians, so they have to know that that was coming, especially if they're putting you in to train at such a young age. Like it's I think are they supportive of what you're doing?
Yeah, I think they were scared at first, like any parent hearing
Right.
that their kid is giving their life to rock and roll. Yeah, I think at first they were just worried because I'm a college graduate. I went to UCLA. Um,
Hmm.
I have a degree in education and fine arts, so like I was supposed to teach. Um, but I went from that stable job. Somehow music just took over my life, and before you know it, I was teaching less, and now I have a college degree, but I'm in a touring band. Like for them, they're like, "Why would you do that? Like that's like surrendering security and safety." Like but I think these days sometimes you don't need a degree to create a career. I think it's nice to have it as like a fallback. I think it's nice also to have that piece of paper so that you have like security for the future.
Sure.
And you learn a lot in college, of course. It's a very valuable experience. But also, I think I don't know. Sometimes, like if life sends you a message like you gotta just pursue music, then you should take it while you're young, because I think these things aren't forever. Like I couldn't be touring when I'm 50, 60.
Right, right.
So
You see these bands, some of the like older bands that are out still touring now, and it just feels sad sometimes. You see them up there, you're like, why are you doing this? Like, do you still need money? Did you blow all your money away? Like, they're not performing to the top of their game anymore, and they're old, like they're grandparents. Like, just go be a grandpa somewhere.
yeah, I think the lifestyle is just really taxing too. Like
Yeah.
it's just a lot of all-nighters and driving and being in just not sleeping enough.
Right. Yeah. For sure. I hear you. And you know, you've been touted as a Renaissance woman because you also paint as well. Is this right?
That's very nice. Yeah, I guess I paint. I got my roots in painting and drawing. Like, I think that was my first love. I used to just paint and draw all the time. But these days, I only paint and draw if it's like for a client or something.
Well, you also did the cover for your debut album, right?
Yeah, I did. It's cool being a visual artist as well, and also writing all the music, because then I have a very clear image of what I want the album to be, and it's cool that I don't have to translate it to another person to convey. Like, I can just do what's in my brain myself, and then save money.
Well, yeah, saving money is good, but yeah, when you're an artist and you're creating music, and if you have that ability to make your own art, like I was in a band as well. I mean, I'm sure everybody listening is tired of hearing that, but I was in a band and I used to do all the art for our band as well. And I don't consider myself an artist at all. Like, I don't paint. I don't. You know, I did go to school and took art classes and everything, but everything that I do is on the computer. I just, you know, put stuff together on Illustrator and Photoshop. But you know, it works so much better when you are able to express the message, or the overall message of the music and the whole project. If you have that ability, the art, you know.
Yeah, I think that, you know, if you build, like, everything is linked. Like, every creative pursuit is kind of linked. Like, some people see colors or see things when they hear music, and some people hear music when they see art. So I think it's really cool, like, if you look to merge both worlds. For me, the two have always been kind of like, you know, they feed off each other. Yeah, and it's also like a really great pairing, practically, because you know, if you do art, a lot of bands need art constantly, and that's the first thing someone notices in a record store. Not that, like, people go buy music in record stores anymore, but, you know, like, if you were to just walk around and look at records, you know, sometimes you do choose a book by its cover, and that you have on the cover is the first impression you get to make. So you're basically telling people, this album is about this. So hopefully there's, like, synchronicity in what you recorded and how you represent it visually. But yeah, I think it's kind of exciting, giving people a first impression without having them even listen to music yet. Like, what is this album about? Like, for us, Effloresce, that whole album was about us growing as a band and exploring, like, more lush tones. So I thought, like, the person with the flowers on the face, that kind of represented that better than, I guess, like, I don't know, like a portrait of us or something.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when I saw the cover, the first thing I thought, I'm like, oh, this is a nice painting. Very interesting to see the flowers on a person's face. Like, immediately the thoughts were, you know, beauty and, like, this nice, I don't know, I want to say spring, if that makes any sense, but just kind of like this nice vibe. And then I put on the music, and it definitely fits. It fits the same vibe of the music. It's, you know, you're for anybody that's listening that hasn't heard the band, it's kind of I wouldn't want to call it gent, because it's not gent, but it's instrumental, kind of post rock, a lot of finger tapping, kind of like Animals as Leaders or a Pliny or a Chon type of deal, right?
Yeah. When people ask what we are, like, explaining it to people who aren't familiar with, like, math rock or anything, I usually say it's instrumental prog with post rock elements to it. Just, like, tonally, and dynamically, I love where post rock goes. I think a lot of more notey prog lacks that dynamic range and lacks, like, develop in the structure. Usually it's just, like, Threadfest, which is cool too. But I guess I hope that with our music, we have the best of both worlds. That's at least, like, my statement when I write music is, how do I make something technically interesting, and really interesting, but also content. Hello?
Hello. Sorry, I dropped the call for a sec, or the connection broke up there. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think we left off at you were just saying, the elements of it, the tonally, and I wanted to ask you when you mentioned the tone, is, are you, because a lot of these bands that focus on in that style are using a lot of axe effects, and they're not really using analog like tube amps and stuff like that. It's kind of they're using a lot of programs for it. And I wanted to know, for you guys, is that the case, or are you guys focusing more on getting some analog gear?
We record entirely analog. Our entire album is analog. All of us are like freaks, so yeah. I use like mostly, I guess, like a lot of analog pedals as well. I'm not really like an axe effects person per se. I like my amp.
I prefer that, to be honest with you. I can tell the difference. I know some people say no, but I mean, I've been listening to music my whole life, and I can tell when it's an amp, when it's a tube amp. You can hear the warmth and the depth to it. That's something that's missing when a lot of people use an axe effect or something like that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, I mean, maybe in like a big live setting where guitar isn't really the focus, like, I think maybe then it doesn't matter, but if you're like doing like a delicate, dynamic little solo or something, like, I don't know, I think it's important. Like for certain styles of music, I think it doesn't matter as much. But I think for our style, I'm really looking for nuance, and I'm really looking for like delicateness, and I like the feeling of moving air with an amp, like when you play, like feeling it. You know, you feel all that. I guess you can achieve that with like a speaker cabinet or something, but still, like, I just like tube amps.
Yeah, and so you know how to read music?
Very shittily, yes.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I mean, I did music, but I never really learned how to read music. It was just more of a feeling, it was more of a jam kind of a deal. Like, let's just get together and write music just by jamming. And I always wanted to learn. I just couldn't. For some reason or another, I just couldn't figure it out. So I just gave up. But when you're writing your music, like, and you're doing instrumental music, is it similar to, say, like writing words, right? Where you're trying to tell a story. Do you use these notes in a specific arrangement, and it translate to a story for you? Or like, how do you approach your writing of the song? Because it's got to be difficult not having lyrics to portray a message.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting challenge. But also, in some ways, it's like easier because you don't have to think about like semantic meaning. Like, you totally take that element out of it, and I think it's like the same beauty that I find in abstract art, which maybe at a younger age I didn't understand because I enjoyed literal things and I enjoyed people, like, messages just being given to me. I kind of like that extra work you have to do when something's not immediately clear, and you have to find your own meaning. And yeah, I think in the same way I appreciate abstract art, I think instrumental music is awesome because you get a chance to tell a story. It's not a very specific story, but the beauty of that is I think it can be more relatable because more people can like project what they're feeling onto it and tell their own story when they close their eyes and listen. Like for me, when I was in high school, I used to walk home every day and listen to music, and I would just imagine scenes, or I imagine like a music video for it, like what I wanted to happen in the song. That was always like really exciting and fun for me. I think the same way when I write a song, I'm like, usually my process is I come up with a riff, like the cool riff of the song, and then I hear where it wants to go, so I'll probably usually sing it in my head, or I'll just like, sometimes I'll just know, like I'll hear it in my head, thanks to my ear training and thanks to hearing so much music when I was younger. I and then find what I hear in my head on the guitar, and then I teach it to myself, and then I sit back and I listen to my body of work, and I'm like, okay, this sounds like blank. So, and then I name the song something related to that usually.
Nice. Okay. That's awesome. And I like that you compared it to abstract art because it's very much like that. I mean, I've go to museums and you stare at art, and sometimes you'll hear other people just like, I don't get it, or what is that? And somebody's like, oh well, that's an animal, it's a dog, and then like, no, it's not a dog, it's this, and yeah, everybody puts their own perspective on it.
Not to mention that they dismiss it, like my 4-year-old toddler could do that. Like,
Right, right. I love that one. That's good.
yeah, but here's the thing: is like much like, as most people, they have to learn the ropes, they learn the basics before they move on to something like abstract art. It took me forever to understand this, but abstract art is actually I think it's like an advanced extension of your understanding of composition and framing, and you have to master like something like hyperrealism or something, or at least learn the ropes of what makes a compelling image, and color theory and everything before you can move on to abstract art. Because if you've ever tried to make an abstract painting, like, it's quite challenging. Because you won't have any figurative things to like attach to. You just have to somehow make a composition that is cool to look at without being literal. And I don't know. I always found that really challenging, but fun. And you can use interplay between colors and textures to create your final image, which can make you feel something. I view instrumental music very similarly. Like, technique is all like textures for me. Like, it's not an end, but it's like a means. Like, I want to develop my technique just so I have more of like a toolkit to use to draw from when I write songs. And I think like when I have instrumental music, it's not like I have lyrics that tell me like the song's about like a heartbreak or something. Like, I have to convey heartbreak through pitches and like chord juxtapositions and dynamics and tension. Like, for me, it's much like working with an abstract painting. You have to master songwriting techniques first, and then it's challenging because you take away the literal aspect of it. But I think both. I enjoy both lyrical music and instrumental music. So I think there's merits to both.
For sure, for sure. Going back to the art or the painting, real quick, who would be one of your biggest influences? Like, who are some of the painters or artists that you are inspired by?
I like Matisse. I really like his playful palette. Robert Rauschenberg, what's his name? Kandinsky. Really, I think his stuff is really like interesting to look at. It's very whimsical. I like Dubuffet. There's this other. I'm blanking on it. It's like tangled webs, like a portrait of. Usually their proportions are really strange, and then like the background's all tangled up. Usually layers, and then like erases and layers and erases the portrait, so it just looks jarring. I don't know. Any of you? I hope you know it in talk. Yeah. Okay. So there's this hyper-realist painter, Yvette Young. He's like a contemporary. He does this amazing photorealistic portraits of women, but the way his soft lighting is just really beautiful to me. So yeah, I mean his his paintings look like photos. So there's that, of it. That's like the first thing you know.
For sure. And then going back to the music real quick too. The album just came out yesterday. How's the response been?
I think it's been great. Like, everyone's excited. I think growth for us as a band is obvious in this release. We, even the recording quality is just eons better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think everyone's been really enjoying it. Pleasant surprises for everyone, because I went from playing like happy notey stuff to like having more chords, and I think that was just me maturing a little bit and realizing I don't have to like fill everything up with notes all the time. Yeah, I think people have been enjoying it. and I'm really grateful for all the support we've received.
Yeah, I mean, I see you're on guitar magazines, and I mean, you're on the Vans Girls website. I mean, it's getting noticed, which is great. Um, what's the future hold for you aside from touring and all of that? Just keep making more of this. Is there another world that you want to explore? Like you're doing guitar instrumental work and you're doing painting. Is there something else that also is like maybe down the road once you get all this out of the way?
Um, hmm. I really do enjoy guitar painting. I guess like if I don't do music anymore, I'd probably be doing that, or maybe a tattoo artist or something. Um,
Okay.
I wanna learn, like, I don't know. Sometimes I get tired of just being around music all the time. Not that I don't love it, like I live and breathe it. Don't get me wrong, but I kind of miss, like, meeting people from different backgrounds and being just well rounded. I think I really value that because it always gives me perspective, and I feel less caged up if I'm able to talk about other things and apply myself to other things and learn about new things. Like I never want to stop just learning new things. So yeah, I guess I hope in the future I don't know, maybe I'll take up botany or something. um,
Okay.
yeah, I like to cook. I like to cook onions because then they're less disgusting. Call back to my comment earlier.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good callback. Yeah. No, I wanted to ask you too. I mean, this is a little more personal, but the rock and metal world tends to be a kind of a boys' club. Have you gotten any kind of pushback or had any kind of issues with, you know, in that world with any fans or anything like that?
um, I think I get it easy. I know a lot of my peers, like I see what they go through. My lady peers, I'm like, oh my god. Like, I think I get it easy because I don't know. It's a challenge. It's a challenge because guys always want to attribute your success to being a woman. Like I
Mm-hmm.
get it all the time. Like, well, like it must be really lucky being a pretty girl, and I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I do get noticed more. I'm not gonna argue you there, but to be respected, like that's a whole nother story. Because guys will click a pretty girl playing guitar video, but more often than not, like there's this weird thing where they like are expecting her to not play something technical. Like I feel like there's a stereotype where like she's gonna be like a singer songwriter type or play something that's more like mellow and pretty, which
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that. Like, but I think it's been fun, kind of
Showing
disproving
off.
people.
You're
Yeah,
like,
it's just
check this out.
yeah, like breaking boundaries, right? Like I
Yeah.
think a lot of, for me, like growing up, I never really saw any girls carrying it up on stage and like rock. There's a lot of them, but I never like got to see them live. I always saw women in like a classical piano setting, and they were badasses in their own right, like just playing all this really technically intricate music and having to be so precise. You know, I think I hope that when I'm up there playing or whatever I'm doing, I hope like I can get a chance to inspire like younger girls or something to think like, oh man, I could do that too. It's not a boys' club.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, still to this day, when I write at shows, the sound person will just usually go to my bass player and be like, oh, hey, you're the guitarist, right? She's a singer, right? And I'm like if I had $1 for every time that happens, I could pay for gas on tour. Like I just, like I could just cover all the gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just fun,
Go ahead.
huh?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, for me, like, there's like a sinister element of it where it's like just like, what am I looking for? Sexism that's not immediate. Like, there's like a implied like sexism in that. But for me, I like to laugh it off and just view it as an opportunity to prove someone wrong.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's great, and I really do hope people are paying attention, and because it is a weird time right now. Everybody's, just things are coming to light. People are being held responsible for their words and their actions, which is good. So I think
Yeah.
it's important that people get inspired. Like it's important to call these people out, but we also can't just be so just get bummed out about it and negative. Like, let's use this as fuel, and let's get some more art out there. Let's get some more attention and respect being shown, you know?
Yeah, I don't think much gets accomplished and we just point fingers at each other and then circulate negativity. I think it's more important to be a role model and be an example. Like, you know, you don't get people to change by just shaming them. Maybe, you get them to realize they're wrong and you get them to stop. But I think to enact real change, it has to be like a perspective shift. And I think just leading by example is like a more viable long-term solution that doesn't involve negativity. For
sure. Well, all right. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for talking to me today. That was awesome to get to know you a little bit. And you have your debut full-length, Effloresce, is out now through Triple Crown Records. I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of instrumental, proggy, art rock, post-rock type of deals, this is really great stuff. I'm fortunate that, you know, Monica sent it to me early so I can listen to it, and it was cool. And you guys are hitting the road. You got West Coast tour coming up, starting in Portland in a couple days.
Yeah, crazy.
And you're located up in San Francisco, the Bay Area?
Yeah, we're in San Jose, so my base the neighbors.
So cool. Yeah, starting in Portland, going through Washington, California, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Nevada. Wow. Okay. So is more touring on the way? Is that the plan for the next year or so? That's usually what happens with like album cycles.
Yeah, we're just getting our toes wet with our first headliner ever. And then we have a full-length plan, but we can't still announce details of it yet, but it will be out soon.
Another full-length?
Sorry, not a full-length. Sorry, a full U.S. tour. Sorry.
I was like, wait, you're doing another album?
Well, actually, we're about a quarter of the way through the next album, writing-wise. So, well, I am at least. So that's not too far from the truth. But yeah, I'm excited for both another full-length and a full U.S. tour.
Very, very cool. Well, I appreciate your time. Guys, please check out Covet. Look it up online, Google it, social media it, follow them, support. Thanks so much, Yvette.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much, and I had such fun. Like, I really enjoyed these questions.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and cheers.
Cheers to you.